order. The first item on the list is going to be any additions or deletions to be added or subtracted from the agenda. First of all, I'm interested if there's any suggestions, and then I know one item that we almost certainly need to discuss. So, anybody have any comments? If not, I'll go with the item that we know we need to add. So right before the meeting here, we were talking with staff, and it turns out that pretty much everybody on staff that supports the commission is going to be out of pocket in May during the time that we would typically be meeting. And so the question, so what I want to do is put a discussion about May meeting schedule, or perhaps deciding to not have a May meeting under new business is item B. And I would welcome anybody who wants to make a motion in that regard.
I'll so move.
Any second?
Second.
I don't think we need much of a discussion on this one. So I guess I'm going to ask for a vote on this. So all in favor, please.
Aye.
I've got, sound like Al and I, Ed said aye, Talahi or Kevin,
Aye.
and Kevin, are you voting yay or nay?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and just put that down as 8B, and we'll discuss that when we get down to that. I think from there we need to move to an approval of the agenda unless there's something else somebody wants to either add or delete.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Alan.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I've heard,
Aye.
I think I've got 3 ayes so far, Talai.
Aye.
Okay. And I think with that, we have an approval for that. So let's move on to introductions and announcements.
I am Jen Burbage, Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation for the city.
Erin Quinn Velcho, Museum Curator for the city.
Sarah Smith, Executive Assistant for the City Parks, Culture, Recreation Department.
And we've got obviously what I can see in front of me is that Ed Holmes there at the meeting. Kevin, Talai, and Alan and I are all on Zoom. So I think are there any announcements that we want to go through?
I do have a couple.
Okay.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Ken Balsley's Celebration of Life is next Monday, April 24th at 4 p.m. at St. Martin's University. Everybody is invited. And then the May 4th City Council meeting is also coming up. And we will be celebrating Lacey History Month, which Erin is going to talk about later on the agenda. There'll be a proclamation, and Erin will be presenting at that meeting. Also on that same agenda for City Council, Ken Balsley will be awarded the Spirit of Lacey Award. So it'll be a very eventful night for us and the commission there at that May 4th City Council meeting. That starts at 6 p.m. You can attend via Zoom or in person for anyone who's interested.
Hey, can you give me the times and dates? The one
Yes.
for funeral.
Yes, of course. Monday, April 24th at 4 p.m. at St. Martin's.
And Jen, do you know where at St. Martin's?
Do you know, Erin?
It's in the Worthington Center.
Okay.
I'll be speaking.
Erin will be speaking. And then the other one is the May 4th City Council meeting.
Okay,
It's at 6:00 PM and it's here. Or on Zoom. That's all I have, Commissioner or Chair.
Okay. Does anybody else have any announcements they wish to make? Hearing none, I think we'll move on to minutes. So has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes, and are there any suggested changes to those? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes for March 15th.
and so move.
Thank you, Ed. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion? If not, let's move on to a vote. All in favor of approving the March 15th, 2023 minutes, please say aye.
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 Any nays? If not, I think we're good to go. Okay. Aaron, I think you're on correspondence.
Well, I can take it if you want, Aaron. Oh. Yep, so essentially there was one piece of correspondence regarding the McKinney House and it's just for the commission to note that the correspondence did come in.
Okay. Do we know any background about the person who approached us or what they're thinking of doing?
We only have what's in the packet here. Let me share. It looks like in the correspondence, they said that their interest is creating a business opportunity with a community inclusion component. And they are open to partnering and sponsorship as well as purchase/leasing options. So we don't know anything additional.
Okay.
Aaron had responded and thanked the person for their enthusiasm and let them know that the commission will be working on planning for the future of the property and that we would like to see the house used and preserved in a way that will benefit the community and celebrate its history. And so she had let the person know the best way to keep up on where we are is to keep checking our website. And she did provide a little bit of history to the person, but essentially that's all it was just a correspondence.
Okay.
We do have the McKinney House further on the agenda. Too.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like we could move on to calendar of events.
Just a second. I need to pull up my information. That was the one thing I missed doing. So we have our last, oh, it helps if I pull up the right site. We have our last history talks of the season in May. That is coming up on May 9th. That's a Tuesday evening at 9 o'clock. And Tracy Rebstock will be coming to share the history of the Lacey Historical Society. And I think it will be really interesting. And I encourage everyone to come by Zoom or in person.
Aaron, what time did you say that was starting again?
6:30.
Okay. Are there any other items on the calendar of events that we have right now?
Nope.
Okay. So should we go ahead and move on to old business and talk about the museum?
Yep, sure. Thank you. I actually don't have any report on the new museum project tonight.
Okay.
I do have a little bit for 7B, for the Lacey Depot. So the building was opened April 1st, so it is open from 7 a.m. until dark. And the food truck plaza has been going well. A lot of people visiting the site. There is going to be a market event. The Community and Economic Development Department has contracted out with a company to run some market events and also encourage visitation to the food trucks. And the first one of those is coming up Sunday, April 23rd. So that's all I have on that.
Any questions? Hearing none, why don't we move on to the Historian of the Year award that we've named after Ken Balsley.
Yeah, so I gave some background on the award last month, so I am not planning on repeating that unless there are questions that come up. So we did receive one nomination, and that was in your packet, and it was for Thelma Jackson, and I'm gonna open it here. My dog is making noise. I don't know if you can hear it.
I did hear it. I wondered what that was.
He is scratching on the couch really, really loud. Stop, dog. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Can you see it?
Coming. Yep, there it is.
So former historical commissioner Seth Huff submitted this nomination. He says Dr. Thelma Jackson edited the recently published Blacks in Thurston County, Washington, 1950 to 1975, a community album. This legacy project accumulated over 30 years of research on Black residents of the local area, many of their stories taking place in Lacey. This book gives accounts of the struggles and triumphs of civil rights and cultural identity for Blacks in Lacey. Dr. Jackson's book adds yet another layer to Lacey's story and inspires us to investigate what is known and unknown about the Black community members in Lacey's past. Dr. Thelma Jackson, with the publication of this book, has promoted Lacey's history and showcases Black people's positive contributions to our community.
And is that the only nomination we've gotten, Aaron?
It is.
And I'm assuming tonight's the meeting we need to approve a nomination, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
if that
The
is your choice.
nominations open till the 31st of May.
Sorry, what?
Aren't they open till the 31st of May? I'm asking a question. I thought I saw on there.
No, it was the 31st of March.
Oh, nominations are due by 5 p.m. on May 31st, it says at the bottom of this. Here in a year.
Oh,
That's why, that's where I got it. I didn't know where I got that, but that's where it is.
you have a typo?
Oh, that must be, I need to update the form. I wonder if I posted the wrong form online. Oh yeah, it says monthly meeting in June. Either that or Seth had an old one.
Oh,
I will
maybe.
check that and make sure it is correct.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, there was a time that we did it later in the year.
Yeah, we could do that. I think we'd change the date if you wanted to. But then that wouldn't be right either, I don't think.
Yeah, so we've landed on May being Lacey History Month. So yeah, the intent was for March 31st, but that's a good catch.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I had updated. Oh, he did. He used an old form.
Oh, so what's posted online from the city is March 31st?
Yep,
Okay, so he just had an old form.
yep.
Okay.
He probably used one from,
And he was on the
Yes.
commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I thought we were going to have a very interesting challenge in front of us. So, I guess if we're expected to do an acceptance of a nomination, basically, I think it's a decision of whether we accept the nominee or we don't have somebody that we nominate for this particular award this year. I think this is the moment to have that discussion and or a motion in that regard.
Yeah, someone needs to make a motion one way or the other.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the nominations.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Talai. Any discussion?
So do we have the list of the former historians of the year available, or is it?
We do. I have them on our website. I'll pull them up here just a second. So, can you see my screen?
Okay.
So Seth is up there because he won last year. And then all the past ones are listed here.
Okay.
And so Thelma lives in Lacey, right?
Yeah. But residency isn't a requirement in any case. It's about the contribution to Lacey history.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't have any other.
Do you have any questions about or comments, discussion about the nomination?
It's like Thelma's going to be in good company.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I think that Thelma is a fantastic choice. I think the work that she did on the book, trying to fill in gaps in research for the Black community history in Thurston County and Lacey is really terrific. And she's done a lot of educating about that, including at one of our history talks, which is really great. And I think it's a very worthwhile nomination.
I would tend to agree.
Me as well. A very nice lady.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, I'm going to suggest that we vote all in favor of accepting the nomination of Thelma Jackson for the Ken Balsley Historian of the Year Award. Please say aye.
Aye.
Looks like we're unanimous. So I think we're good there, Aaron. We've got that.
Oh, thank you. I will let her know.
And again, just a reminder, that'll be at the May 4th council meeting, as I said earlier.
Okay. And then next, I think is a staff item, the McKinney House.
Yeah, so as we talked about last meeting, and as you know, we adding it to the work plan, there is a plan needed for the preservation and the use of the McKinney House. And so the first step for that is that I will be submitting a budget request that goes in at the end of June this year for next year. And what I'll be asking for is some help from a contractor to do a site assessment and a wetland delineation and an assessment of what the potential for development could be at that site. That's really what we need to know before moving forward on anything. Now, Aaron was able to find the work that was done by St. Martin's University students. And these are students, it's not a hired consultant by any means. But it's really, really helpful information, and I just found it really informational and fun to read through, and just a learning opportunity to learn about the site. So hopefully you've all had a chance to look through it. And this is actually not just the McKinney House, but they also looked at the whole Lake Lois Habitat Reserve. So you'll see that there's, it's a St. Martin civil engineering class in the spring of 2013. And they not only, like I said, looked at the house, but also the site. And so you'll see that in here, 2 bridges are proposed to improve accessibility for the site and connection, which I think is a wonderful idea. That would be outside the scope of just the McKinney House itself. But it's interesting to read and see that the house is 1,805 square feet. And this has a proposal that it would be converted into an educational center for the local community, which is a great idea. The challenge is who would pay for that, and how does, where do the capital funds come from, and the maintenance and operation. So like I said, going out for a site assessment and just seeing what the potential is, and maybe there's a partnership with some type of business where we could, keep the house, preserve the features of the house that are deemed important, and then potentially get some help from the private side to be able to pay for it and run it. So anyway, I'm just curious if anybody had comments on this. I don't know that I can answer all questions on it. There is some technical stuff in there.
I wanted to just ask, do you get much help from St. Martin's on these things?
Well, so I haven't personally worked with St. Martin's on any of the projects in the last 6 years. The prior director, Lori Flem, she did have a close connection with the St. Martin's engineering program. And so she was able to do a few projects like these. And quite frankly, I just haven't had capacity to do something like that.
They just had a big, they went through a big surge of work that they did in that period, probably when she was there, and then I first got involved with them when they were closing the high school down. And since that time, they kind of went flat for a while, and they started building things again and started moving, and that's what's happened the last 10 years. That's why I asked that. I didn't know if they've gotten involved with Lacey at all, or if they're just doing their own thing. And that's what I was kind of.
The college.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do partner on some different projects with the college itself.
Are they pretty good with that?
But, oh yeah, they're
Good.
fabulous neighbors to work
Yeah.
with. In fact, we're working on buying a piece of property of theirs for the new police station. And we're looking into potential for a joint use facility. Yeah, they are wonderful to work with, and
Yeah,
the city has a long history of working with them. The civil engineering class specifically kind of was its own little partnership in, just giving the students something meaningful to work on.
How
And
many students do they have out
and
there?
then also getting some of the background and the work done on projects that are potential for the city. Total students,
Yeah,
I would
no.
have to look that number up.
I've heard it's gone up like 5 times in the last few years, and that's why I wanted to hear.
Okay,
I think that's something we should know anyway.
yeah, I should know that. I don't know it off the top of my head. If anybody wants to Google it, feel free to do that and chime in. But no, they're great neighbors, but this is all really good information about the McKinney House, and kind of tells us, about the basics of the building, and talks about the historical significance, which the commission would probably be interested in seeing. I'm going to go to that section. Unless anybody wants to discuss any of this, please feel free to stop me.
But I was the advisor for that program when they did that work.
You were Commissioner Tyler?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, do you want to tell us a little more about that?
No, that's how my connection started with the historical commission is I was a advisor and administrator for the university.
Oh, that's great.
I left there in 16.
Okay.
By the way, St. Martin's has about 1,500 students.
1,500?
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Erin. So I thought this was interesting, interior historical features. The city of Lacey has expressed the importance of incorporating the McKinney barbecue counter. It's currently inside the building, but they did have it in this plan relocated to a different location just because it kind of cuts up the space, which inhibits the flow of visitors inside the building. So I think there was a picture. Okay, you can see the proposed floor plan, at least in this plan, and just kind of opening up the middle there. This report did say that in 2002, the building was inspected and it was considered in really poor shape. And then, so you have to imagine by now, here we are, 2023, it's in more rough shape than it was then.
More rustic, yeah.
Yeah. So there's there's discussion about accessibility and structural improvements. In order to correct the sagging roof, they've designed a beam and column support that would provide much needed support for the aging building. And here's where we get into the manuals and the technical stuff that I'm not necessarily an expert at. But yeah, I mean, this was just, we put it in here. We thought it might be nice for the commission to read through. It sounds like Commissioner Tyler is familiar with it. I don't know if there's any discussion or questions about it that I may or may not be able to answer, but it was more for informational purposes.
I did a brief poll of commissioners on several issues over the last day or two. And one of the conversations we had was whether there would be some value at some point. And I think you folks staff would be pretty important to talk with about when the appropriate point would be, about whether we would want to have like a field trip or something like that to actually see the facility. That may be, we may not yet be timely in that regard. But I was thinking that might give people a better handle on both what the facility looks like and what some of the challenges are.
Sure. Yeah, I would be happy to set something up. Yeah, you have to wear a hard hat and a mask.
I used to do that all the time.
Is there a mask color we're supposed to wear?
It's an N95. Just because it's pretty dusty.
Yeah.
In there, but I think that's a great idea. And so if you don't mind, if we could just kind of think about that and consider when the best time would be.
Right. I just raised it because that was one of the conversation items that came up as I was talking to people. So
Sure. I'd be happy to arrange that.
And like I said, I think that's somewhat dependent on when we think the most appropriate time is to try to do it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I tend to think of it as a better thing to do. We're coming into the better time of year to do it. Maybe not days like today, but better time to think about this type of thing because the weather's better and you get more daylight later. So,
Sure. Yeah, maybe July or August.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, and then I was thinking more in terms of, I mean, it would be nice for you to see it, but it might also be nice once we have a little more information.
Exactly.
So yeah, we can figure out what the best time is. Also, we could go once this year and once next year. Doesn't hurt. So
Right.
I'm all for walking around a little bit.
Any other questions or comments in this particular regard? If not, I would say let's go ahead and move on to the comprehensive plan update.
All right, well, thank you so much. Tonight, I'm actually looking for an action on this. After tonight and the portion that we provided in your packet on the Parks, Culture, Recreation Comprehensive Plan, that will be the end of the bulk of the Historical Commission's work on this plan. As you know, you've seen it a couple times already. But what's really cool is that Aaron was able to do some updating to the museum level of services and industry standards section, and also to the policies and objectives section, which helps us obviously get to our strategic goals. So really appreciate your work on this, Aaron. And yeah, and I don't think officially we need a motion on it, but I would love to get one just so that I know that the commission has, is in support of these significant changes that have been made to the portions of the plan that apply to the commission, that the commission, helps with the oversight and is involved with. So so let's go through it. Regarding level of service, so what Aaron has indicated is that similar to recreation and cultural programs, there is no formal level of service for museums. However, there are core standards for museums as defined by the AAM, and that is adaptable and expected of museums of all types and sizes, with each museum fulfilling them in different ways based on its discipline, type, budget, governance structure, and other unique circumstances. So those core standards are listed here: public trust and accountability, mission and planning, leadership and organizational structure, collection stewardship, education and interpretation, financial stability, and facilities and risk management. So to tie it back to the Lacey Museum strategic plan, you all, the Lacey Historical Commission, adopted that strategic plan in 2019 based on these core standards that we just read, and has been updating it annually since then. And so what we'll do here is we will insert the proper appendix number where that museum strategic plan will get inserted into the comprehensive plan. And then we list the 6 overarching goals that are defined in that strategic plan, and those are listed out here. And I know that we just recently spent some time on that, so I won't read those off. And then it says, for more information, see policies and objectives section, strategic goal number 4. And then we'll actually jump to that in just a few minutes here. We call out that the new museum facility, many of these goals are centered around the need for a new museum facility, which has been on the city's capital facility plan since 2010. As you all know, the current museum facility is insufficient to meet the needs of the community and professionally care for and provide access to the museum collections. And then we list the insufficiencies here, which we went through this, former commissioners, and Commissioner Tyler had gone through these in earlier stages of museum planning, but I think it's really great to have this inserted into the comprehensive plan. And then in 2012, the City of Lacey Historical Commission invited members of the public to engage in the planning process for that new museum facility, which, as we know now, is the new museum and cultural center upcoming. City staff, commissioners, consultants, stakeholders, and members of the public participated in several workshops during the planning process. And out of this, 8 objectives for the new facility were identified. So here's the objectives for the new facility. 4 phases were identified, and you're pretty familiar with this from our recent update with the City Council. And then we list out community partners and champions, because bringing a project like this to fruition requires community support in many forms. And so we listed some of the partners and champions here. And then, and I'll stop there, because next we'll get into that policies and objectives section. So are there any questions or comments on the level of service and the new museum update that goes into the plan.
So would you want us to give you an official acknowledgement of the changes?
I would after we make it through the next section.
Okay.
But I thought since that was a kind of a long section, I would pause. Okay, so in the policies and objectives, you all helped us update strategic goal number 4. So we did that a few months ago now. And that strategic goal is educate and engage the public with the heritage of Lacey and the South Sound region through mission-driven programs and exhibits, and by preserving sites and artifacts of historical and cultural importance and making them accessible to the community. And so then we call out that the following policies and objectives are derived in part from that 2023 to 2032 Lacey Museum Strategic Plan. And then again, we'll reference where it is in the appendix, which is updated annually. And then we want to refer folks that are reading through this comprehensive plan to look for the latest update for the details of most recent information. Since that is annually updated, they can find that on our website. And actually that might be something that we add in here is our website. But the first policy, so essentially what we did here is this is how it read before. So all the stuff that you see that's crossed out, and it's been replaced with what you see up above. So thanks to Aaron, we have components from that museum strategic plan in the policies and objectives. And just as a reminder, the policies and the objectives are what gets us to this strategic goal here. So the first one is preserving significant high quality historical and aesthetic resources that reflect our diverse community. The second policy, and these are the ways to do that here. The second policy is to create and deliver high quality mission-driven educational experiences. Third policy is to build the new Lacey Museum and Cultural Center and ensure its financial stability. The fourth is to preserve, care for, and manage collections professionally. And the fifth is to build and foster community partnerships to increase capacity and sustainability. And again, these all sound really familiar because they're matched up with that strategic plan, like we talked about. And then we did provide a rendering for the new museum, and we are going to actually put a collection of renderings into the appendix of the plan as well.
Okay.
So that is the end of my update. Again, happy to answer any questions or just discussion that you might have.
So any comments or questions that you have on the proposed language that we've got here in front of us?
No.
No, this looks all really good. Thank you.
And this would seem to be the time to go ahead and we want to make a motion to approve and accept that. This would be that point.
I would so move, I guess.
Thank you, Ed.
Second,
Thanks, Alan. Any discussion?
no, it's pretty reflective of what we've talked about.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I read it as well.
I really appreciate that everything was included that we talked.
I'm really excited that we have this information. And again, thank you to Erin for her hard work on that. It's information that I think should have been in the comprehensive plan already. But it's just a step in the right direction. Appreciate your
I
support.
appreciate it too, being able to have the opportunity to add stuff, because I've thought that as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see that incorporated. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask that all that are in favor of the motion of accepting this languages into the comprehensive plan update to say aye.
I
Aye.
Looks like we have a unanimous vote. So I think we're good there.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so I'll be really excited to provide you all with the final copy. That should come sometime in September, once it makes it through the city council. So, but this is this is an item on the board's work plan. So this is great progress. So appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next item that we have on our agenda is the one we added this evening, which was a question about having a May meeting. As I noted earlier, when in discussion with staff right before the meeting, we realized that during our normal May meeting date, all of our support staff, Sarah, Aaron, and Jen, are going to be out of town. I'm not sure why we're letting them get out of town at that time, but they are going to be out of town. So the question was whether we wanted to try to hold a meeting at a different date or whether we wanted to simply wait until June to have our next meeting. And I don't know, from the staff, it sounded like there wasn't anything pressing that we need to consider in May. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
So what do folks think?
Well, if they're all gonna be gone doing something fun, I think we should have a meeting just because.
Well, some of us are working.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we can forego the May meeting then.
So that would just simply mean that we'd move, our next meeting would be then on, I think it's, I did a quick look beforehand, I think it's like June 18th, but I'd have to double check that.
June 21st.
June 21st, okay. So that would be, yeah, that would be our next meeting. If we're okay with going ahead and just having our next meeting on June 21st, I would welcome a motion in that regard.
I'd like to- I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I would say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
I don't hear any, it looks like we've got a unanimous vote in that regard. So then our next meeting will be on June 21st. And I think then we move on to committee reports.
Kimberly isn't here, but we're still not meeting. The policy
Okay.
committee hasn't
We're
had
still
any.
on hiatus. That makes it quick. Do we have anybody present from the Lacey Historical Society?
We do not.
I don't see anybody. And do we have anybody else? Doesn't look like it.
We do not.
Okay, so it looks like we'll move down to reports.
All right. So we had a really great history talk last week. It was on the Northwest Passage with a look through several historical maps. It was really interesting. It was our second highest attendance of the season, so that's pretty cool. I did a lot of research on Ken Balsley to work on the Historian of the Year award. Felicia has been working on an exhibit schedule so that we can try to work on getting our own exhibits done and scheduled out for to try to get ahead of it instead of kind of doing things on the fly. So she's been working on that. And let's see what else. Madison finished.
Aaron, while you're looking for what else, just to clarify with you spent a lot of time on the Spirit of Lacey Award for Ken Balsley, right?
Yeah.
Not the historian of the year.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It is called the Ken Balsley Historian of the Year Award.
I think I saw it on the page and it went in my brain. What was I gonna say? I lost my thought. Oh, and Felicia and I have been working on reorganizing the museum, so been getting a whole lot of things moved out that are no longer relevant, old exhibit panels and stuff like that. So yeah, I think things are moving along really well.
I think at this point, we'll go ahead and have commissioner reports. Talahi, I'm just going to go in the order I see on the screen. So Talahi, you're up first.
Is this where I get to share with them what I shared with you last night?
Yes.
Okay, so I am part of the Polynesian Association of Thurston County, where we host the Lacey Polyfest every year since 2019, less the 2 years of COVID. So this year will be our third annual Lacey Polyfest at the RAC here in Lacey. And I was just wondering, I know one of our previous meetings, there was some discussion on, or some information on landmarkers and covers on utility boxes. And I was wondering, since we have this established organization and we host this Polyfest here in Lacey every year at the RAC, if it's at all possible to have one of the utility boxes there, you know, with a cover with the this organization's logo on it or something like that. If not a landmarker, then maybe a cover on one of the utility boxes here in Lacey or there at the RAC.
Yeah, so the way the public art project is working is that we're doing it in phases.
Okay.
And I would be super glad to put this before the Commission on Equity as an addition to the list. I think the list is set for this first round, but I love the idea. And I might reach out to you separately for some more information so we can get that on our list as well.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Move over to you, Kevin. You're next on my screen.
I don't really have anything to report. Thank you.
Okay, Alan?
I don't have anything to report, but I do have something we need to do for housekeeping. We actually need to vote for the historian of the year. We voted for the nomination, but we didn't vote for the actual historian of the year. We need to do that.
Oh, we don't normally vote for a nomination and then an election, so I guess I thought it was because it's not an election, it's an awarding, I guess.
Yeah, because if somebody was to look at the public record down the road, they'd see that we never voted on the person, right?
Oh,
I mean, if it doesn't make a difference, fine, but it seems like it's just a whole.
yeah, actually, I don't recall the exact wording, but if the commission wants to take action, just so that there's no mistake,
Sure.
there's no question, that doesn't hurt anything.
No, it doesn't. So Alan, if you want to make a motion in that regard.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the nomination as the historian of the year, as we discussed.
You probably need to not say accept nomination. I would think you would need to say,
Approved.
Historian.
yeah,
You would approve,
approve.
yes.
Okay, approve the nomination of the historian of the year.
I would second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in
Aye.
favor?
I
Ed?
I was just gonna say on that, we're not having a meeting next month. If somebody wanted to come by and or, you know, organize something to maybe have a hamburger or something, or take a walk over to the museum together, the whole bunch of us, to maybe talk to each other sometime. It might be nice. But that's just an idea of popping through my head. This is fine now that have that screen up there, but it's not very much for to get together with people. And so I'd kind of like to do that sometime if anybody's willing. So I know some of you have been talking about it, so I think
Yeah.
maybe this would be the week to do it, or the month to do it.
You just have to make sure there's no quorum or else it's considered a public meeting.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, it has to be less than 4 of you.
Well, there probably will be less than 4 when you go to meeting. I'll walk into this other street.
If we set at separate tables at the food trucks, does that count?
As
It's
long as
just
you
an
don't,
idea, and I thought maybe we could do it anyway.
as long as
Okay.
you don't say anything.
Yeah, just, get to know one another, right? A couple of you. But Chair, I think you're looking for a vote for the,
Yes, I am.
for
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that whether Ed had voted in that particular regard as well, so just to verify. So you voted in favor of the of Thelma Jackson as approving that nomination?
you vote in favor.
Yes,
Commissioner?
Okay, so I think we have that vote. Ed, did you have anything else you wanted to report?
no, that's all.
Okay, I, in the course of the last couple of days I did a kind of a quick poll on a couple topics with the members of the commission on a few things. One was topics that people might want to see taken up to talk about sometime in the course of the next few months. There were about 3 items that showed up that and not with any kind of particular timing, but more just we'd like to visit those at some stage that various commissioners have brought up. One was about the old racetrack and kind of what little bit of what's on there and what's the current situation is. One was about tribal relations and connections and kind of an update on the status there. One was a little bit of what Talahi brought up, which was about landmarks of historic places. Part of it was a particular of the Polynesian Society, and part of it was just kind of ultimately, and I know Aaron will be doing this later, but ultimately kind of a report on which landmarks are going to be honored when, and the kind of the timing of that and which groups. So, and what I noted to everybody, and I will do this after the meeting, is that I will send around my email to all of the commissioners just so that you can send me stuff as you happen to think about it, because I know that I kind of caught everybody off guard when I first brought it up in the call. And so it's, it's hard to think of things right on the spot. But I thought that way, as this goes along, it would just facilitate some conversation in that regard. The second question I raised to people was about more in-person or hybrid meetings. The general sense I got was that for some folks, hybrid really works better because of their timing or getting in and their difficulties in getting into a meeting. For others, they in person is all right. It seems like the time of the meeting is okay, that kind of thing. But I was just kind of doing a quick and dirty check. I know I'm going to, provided I don't not sick or something else, going to try to make it in person for the June meeting. I raised the question about field trips. One of them was about, and one other thing that came up was the McKinney. The other was at some point, I think there's some interest in seeing the museum as it currently stands. Perhaps in a meeting, perhaps just as a field trip again, as a group, just to get a little bit of a feel for everybody about what the museum is, what you're currently doing, so we kind of see that a little bit, and maybe think a little bit about what the opportunities will be as we move toward what would happen in the ultimate museum that we're trying to get built. Just again, kind of a way of getting people more familiar and giving them more of a vision of future. So, we can talk more about that. I mostly note that because I think staff would want to know that was part of a discussion. And then finally, I talked with folks a little bit about about presence and from a perspective of what the public sees and to some extent conducting the meeting, and had a general agreement that I will I will bring up at the next meeting at the start to have people at least have their cameras on, and when we are in the midst of discussions, primarily, especially the items that are asterisked on the agenda. As I noted to most people in this conversation, what I noticed when I was looking online at the recorded version of our meetings was that if you don't have your camera on, it's almost like you're not there at all. I mean, there's not a name, there's not an anything, and so it kind of looks like there's virtually nobody there at the meeting. And at the same time, it also makes it somewhat hard to make sure, as chair, that I've tapped everybody. If I don't see your light flick or something when you say yay, if I don't see your face, I don't know if you have a question. So thinking that for discussion and voting periods in particular, that would be important. So anyway, I will make a note of that at the start of the next meeting. But that was kind of the feedback that I got. I haven't done any volunteering in the last month. We went on vacation and unfortunately got COVID. And so I'm feeling better this week than I have in about 3. So at any rate, I'm hoping to start volunteering again tomorrow. So that's what I have to report.
Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm feeling better too. I was getting really tired of just sitting.
All right, I just have one quick report, and that is that the city manager recruitment process is still going. There were going to be interviews scheduled, but as the city council recently reported, there were a few of the candidates, 3 to be exact, that had accepted other positions. And so council has reported that they are going to continue the process, and we don't have any other information at this time. But the good news is we have still our interim city manager, Rick Block, who has been in the role since Scott Spence left in December. And so that he will just be in that role until further notice. So, that's really all I have. Oh, did you have a question, Alan?
Rick, a potential candidate?
Rick is a potential candidate.
Nice.
Yes. So, and that's all I have.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion?
Send us your email.
I will definitely do that. I was going to note that before you said that, Ed. I figured I'd wait till the vote first. So all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Ed, you
I'm
all
sorry.
right? Okay.
Move.
Alan?
I'm glad
Aye.
you mentioned that.
Okay. And as noted, and I think as Ed has graciously reminded me, I will definitely be sending you my email. So at any rate, I think we're done for the evening. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See you in June.
Yes.
Thank you.